Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kevin Askew, Senior Sales Manager at Programmer's Paradise. I want to welcome you to today's webinar, Embarcadero Strategies and Tools for Developing Enterprise DataSnap Applications. Our agenda today will cover a few brief things. Who we are, then I will turn over the program to Mike Roslog from Embarcadero. We'll follow that with questions and answers and then a summary section. Programmer's Paradise is a leading e-seller of developer and infrastructure tools on our website at www.programmers.com. We are an Embarcadero reseller. Under our ALM worldview, we sell RAD Studio and JBuilder. Under our database worldview, DB Artisan and ER Studio. We also provide team development services, assessment, deployment, and migration. Under our ALM management worldview, we provide industry-leading tools for your end-to-end development needs. Define, design, develop, test, deploy, and manage. Without further ado, I will now turn it over to Michael Roslog, Product Management at Embarcadero Technologies. Mike?
Thank you so much. And let's get started into this. So as you guys know, today we're going to be talking about strategies and tools for developing enterprise DataSnap applications. And we're going to be going over a lot of different things today. I'm trying to make sure that any questions that you have will be answered throughout this presentation. So let's go over what we're going to be going. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the common problems that developers have been facing, especially in this challenging economy. We're going to talk about some of the solutions that RAD Studio XE brings to the table today, some of the excitement that you get from the product. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the offers that Embarcadero are working with Programmer's Paradise. We're going to then go into some demonstrations and try to show you some real value, and then we'll talk about next steps for going to the next process going forward. So let's go ahead and get this going. So, if you have a question on anything related to Embarcadero, please go ahead and put it into the Q&A section down at the bottom. Just type it in, and then in between, before we go into the demo and then after the demo, I will try to answer those questions and make sure that everything is, that you guys get the answers that you need for this presentation. So at any time you have a question, just type it in. We will go through all of those questions and make sure that they do get answered throughout the presentation. So, let's talk a little bit about today's common problems that most developers are facing, and where I think RAD Studio and some of the great offers we have going on with Programmer's Paradise really can help you guys move forward pretty quickly. So as we all know, most developers have way too much work. We all have due dates that are excessive. We all have a ton of work that we have to get done. And so, today's, we got to do a lot of things. Developers are also asked to, too much work, too much technology, more. I don't know about you, but it seems like every time I turn around, there's a new technology that I have to be aware of, or there's a new technology that we want to implement, or there's a new technology that we have to interface with our business partners. And so we're always asked to do more. And then, beyond that, as developers, we always also have to worry about, getting all of this stuff done, this more with less time. It doesn't seem like we have a week anymore. It doesn't seem like we have 2 days. It seems like I need it before the end of the day. We need this done. And there's not a group of people that's sitting around the business waiting to do these things. There's more responsibility being put on the developers day in and day out that they actually have to go out there and solve these problems quickly, easily, and make sure that they're maintainable long term. So developers then finally have to also worry about, with all these other things going on, they also have to worry about, once they put this into production, they have to worry about what happens when it is in production. Are there the dreaded production issues? The database is slow, the application is slow. All of those things come up and, raise their head, and we as developers are expected just to automagically fix these problems. And I'm sure most of the people listening on the call can understand that. The requirements, the overhead that we're asked to now do is really a daunting task in today's market. So one of the ways that you can do all of these things and be successful and get things done and be on the cutting edge is really to look at things like tools. Tools can help us do other things that we are not maybe good at. Some people may be awesome at writing SQL statements. I'm not. So having a tool that will help me write an SQL statement saves a lot of time for me. I've got friends who write really, really optimized code, really great optimized code. For me, I might not write as good as optimized code, so I have a tool that will come out there and tell me, hey, your code is not as optimized as what it could be. It's not performing as well. If you make these changes, you'll run better. So there's a lot of things that we can do using tools that will mitigate some of these experiences of too much work, too much technology, not enough time, and it needs to be fixed yesterday. So we really need to always look at how those can be done. So when we start thinking about that, we start looking at the tools available inside of Embarcadero's Rad Studio XE product. And this is the new product line that we've just introduced a couple of months ago. And what makes up Rad Studio? Well, that includes Delphi XE, C++ Builder XE, Delphi Prism, and Rad PHP. And those 4 products make up the entire Rad Studio. However, you also, when you get Rad Studio, you also get 2 additional products. You get Interbase SMP, you get the Developer Edition, which allows you to have 20 concurrent connections to the database, and you also get ER Studio Data Architect when you get the Architect Edition, which allows me to reverse engineer. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those key features that you get inside of Interbase and also ER Studio as we start moving forward. Now, you know, are these issues your issue? Yes.
Excuse me for 1 second. We're having some problems where it seems like a lot of people cannot hear you. For everybody on our webinar, if you are currently logged in and listening to the webinar via your computer, i.e. your browser, please call in on the landline using the info tab. Sometimes with the browsers, the audio is very, very choppy. You can barely hear it. But if you do log in via the landline, you will be able to hear it completely. So, Mike, if you could just hold 1 second, and let's see if some people can do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We've got about 3 or 4 people saying no audio, but when we tell them to do the landline, it seems to be working for them.
Okay.
So just hold off for 1 minute, okay?
Not a problem.
Sorry for the confusion, everyone. Okay, Mike, you could continue. We just got some confirmation from an attendant, Dave, that's saying if you on the landline, it can be heard fine. So again, if you are in your browser and you are listening through your browser, please call in on a landline using the 866 number on your info tab of the WebEx, and you'll be able to hear the presentation perfectly. Okay, Mike, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you. No problem. Thank you. I always want people to hear what I have to say, as you guys well know. So, you know, are these issues a lot of the issues that you're having? And you know, this is a question that when I'm talking to customers around the world, it seems these are fairly straightforward. Most people seem to be having the same type of things. You know, are you asked to write really complex applications that talk to a database? You know, most of us, absolutely. We talk to some database, whether it's a Microsoft database, whether it's an Oracle, Sybase, Firebird, Interbase, you name the database, we're asked to write really complex applications. You know, is modeling the code and your database something that stumps you? You know, do you have problems communicating to management and to the team about what kind of database structure you have or what kind of application structure you have? You know, is troubleshooting, you know, poor performing algorithms in your SQL at runtime giving you problems? You know, are you having problems finding where the bottlenecks are and how to get your application performing as fast as possible? How can you gain advantages on multi-tier versus a client-server architecture? What advantages from scalability to redundancy, failover, fault tolerance support can you gain by moving to a multi-tiered architecture instead of just a simple client-server structure? And how do you know when the changes in your products to the database and also to your application are going to break your production environment? All of these things are asked of us every single day. So when we start thinking about this, no matter what version you're on, if you're on the professional edition of Delphi or professional edition of RAD Studio or the professional edition of C++ Builder, you know, the first key to this to get some really great tools is to go towards the enterprise license. And the reason for that is because you get DB Express, which allows you to connect to all the major databases quickly and easily, and you can move back and forth between them really quickly. DataSnap architecture. The DataSnap architecture, if you're not familiar with our DataSnap architecture, it's all about multi-tier, ease of building these servers that communicate either through the web or through, you know, TCP/IP across the wire. You also get all of the audits and metrics to make sure that you're developing good, solid software. You get full UML and also the Gang of Four patterns. If you've read the Gang of Four patterns book, we have that basically built into the product. You get a higher level of the VCL for the web. You also get Final Builder as part of the product, and you get a higher level of what's called BOGO options. And I'm going to spend some time on BOGO today because this is the best time for you guys to upgrade with programmers because you're going to get more for your dollar right now. So the second step is if you're on professional and you're moving to enterprise, the next step would be to look at RAD Studio because you have more solutions. Inside of RAD Studio, you get Delphi and, of course, C++, and the big difference between those is that one's using Object Pascal, one's using C++, but you also get Delphi Prism in the box, which allows you to do .NET, Microsoft, Mono programming, cross-platform .NET programming, ASP.NET, you know, all of the latest Silverlight, all of the GPF, you name it. You have all of those things available. Plus now in the RAD Studio product, we also include RAD PHP XE, which is a true cross-platform web application development environment based on 100% PHP. It looks like Delphi. It acts like Delphi. The only difference between it, just like Delphi and C++, the only difference between Delphi and C++ is the underlying language. One's C++, one's Delphi, and the other one for RAD PHP, it's PHP. The components look the same. The way the architecture works is the same, and it's really quick and easy and fun to actually build applications in PHP, and you can easily connect to those DataSnap servers if you've upgraded to the enterprise level to get that. So you get all of the tools, all of the capability to go to wherever your environment needs to go, so that if you need to go to multi-platform, you need to have a cross-platform web development, you need to have something, all of the tools are available for you right then. And that's a key to this. Now, the third key to this whole process, in my opinion, is the new BOGO. Buy one, get one. And that's what BOGO stands for. And, you know, no matter what you purchase with programmers today, you're going to get an additional free product with the product that you're going to be purchasing. So if you have the professional product of Delphi, C++ Builder, RAD Studio, you're still going to get a new product that will help you get your job done better, faster, quicker. But if you go up to the enterprise level, you're going to have a higher level because it's an equal value type situation, and you're going to get a higher level of value for that. So a lot of these tools that you may not be familiar with for Delphi and C++ Builder developers are really going to help you with your, you're writing your SQL, reverse engineering your database so you understand what kind of database model you have, understanding the architecture, or finding slowdowns or problems in production that will help you get that. And so those tools, they can be yours during this promotion, and so it's a great time to move up. And then, of course, if you need more tools than even, the buy one, get one free, we also have an easy way to go up to what we call all access, which basically puts all of our tools in one box for you. And then you get all the development tools, all the database tools, all the databases, so everything is in your pocket, and you can upgrade from either Delphi or from C++ Builder or RAD Studio right to all access. So that gives you another option for you to be able to move to get these additional tools to help you get your job done better, faster, quicker in your day-to-day operation. And again, when I talk about getting all the tools, this is the dashboard that basically comes up and allows you to pick which tool you need to work with and how you need to work with it and things like that. And I'll explain a little bit more about those tools when we get into the demonstration part of the presentation. But, when you start thinking about what tools will help me get the job done, you start looking at things like DataSnap. It's really the fastest way to do development, across multi-platform development, multi-server development. If you're going to be doing HTTP, you have to do REST, you have to do web services, you have to do TCP/IP. It's great for business logic. It's great for isolating the database layer. DB Express is really the easiest, fastest way for you to get from one database to another database. If you have to support multiple databases, you can write your code once and then move between those databases fairly quickly and easily. The static analysis and metrics basically can help you isolate where your problems are in your code and how to fix and make better code, faster code. And then, of course, as I said before, the Gang of Four and the UML modeling, there's a lot of times where you can reverse engineer the code and give an example to somebody and say, this is what we're actually doing. And when they look at the UML model, they can go, wow, okay, I understand exactly what's going on. So it gives a lot more insight, and it makes it easier to communicate to management with it because they can look at the picture and say, I understand what you're trying to do now. The customer's trying to talk to this is trying to talk to that, and I can actually visualize what you're trying to do instead of you saying, well, I got this customer object and I'm trying to communicate to the communications object, and it just makes it a lot easier when you have a picture. The old adage is true, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And then, of course, some of the other advanced tools that we have in it, things like Final Builder, which I'll show during the demo, which basically makes it easy for you to develop a build system, a repeatable build process for your applications that you're building. You can just go in there, set it up, point to the various tools and products that you want. So if you want to, generate your documentation ahead of time, and then you want to compile your program, and then you want to build it into an executable, then afterwards you want to run audits and metrics on it, and then you want to call some subversion process out there, and then you want to call some reporting process. All of that can be put into a repeatable build IDE that will run it every single time the exact same way and report back to you on what's going on. Plus, if you're just upgrading from professional, let's say you have 2010 professional, or let's say you have 2009 professional, and you're thinking about upgrading, it's, again, with the tools that we are including inside of the product now, it's a great advantage. Beyond all of the great technology we introduced in inside of XE, we also have things like AQ Time for advanced profiling. We have CodeSite for giving you advanced logging features. So there is a lot of great new functionality and capability inside the product to help you get your job done. One of the things that I'm going to be stressing about a little bit today is the DataSnap architecture. And this is an important thing for most people to understand about Delphi and C++ Builder, is that DataSnap is going to be a go-forward technology for a very, very long time. We've put a lot of work and a lot of effort into DataSnap. We've made it incredibly easy to build DataSnap servers, and those DataSnap servers can basically talk to any back end that you want. So let's say you have a cloud back end and you're using the new Microsoft Azure support inside of the RAD Studio product. You can go out there and talk to that. Let's say you want to talk to an Oracle database, a Sybase. You can isolate your data access inside of those layers, and then you can expose that data out through that. So DataSnap is going to be a continuing important structure for the RAD Studio product as we continue to go forward with a lot of our plans. So, one of the things that I want to try to get across today is really to understand a little bit about DataSnap, which we're going to be spending some time with, a little bit of understanding around some of the tools and capabilities you get with the Enterprise Edition, some of the understanding you get with the Studio. So when you get the RAD Studio product, what other tools, functionalities, capabilities do you get? And then also understanding a little bit about the BOGO, or buy one, get one free, which is going on right now. Now, here's the thing. So let's say that you have Professional Edition of Delphi, and you upgrade to Enterprise Edition, which there is a cost difference between that. I understand that. But the idea behind that, though, is then you actually have the ability then to get a different product for free that will help you get your job done faster. So if you have a need inside of your organization, let's say to reverse engineer an existing application, well, you upgrade to Enterprise, you now get ER Studio, which would give you that capability. Let's say that you are like me and you have problems writing great SQL code. Well, with Rapid SQL, you can go out there and it will help you write your code. I'll show you that in a little bit. DB Change Manager, when we start talking about, I made a change to the database and, now production's broken, we can literally track where that change was made and how that change was done. So you have, as you upgrade, you get additional capabilities that you may not be familiar with. And then, of course, ER Studio Viewer, if you just want to view some of the people inside of your organization, if you already have ER Studio, and now you want a viewer so you can manipulate the views and things like that. Of course, then we have other development tools such as JBuilder, Third Rail, and JOptimizer that's also available for you to upgrade to. Of course, JBuilder is around Java, Third Rail is around Ruby on Rails, and JOptimizer is an optimization program for Java. And then finally, you can also upgrade to the latest and greatest database interface from us, which both support 32 and 64-bit processing. So by just going up a little bit in the upgrade process, you get exposure to a lot of great products in the buy one, get one free approach to the process. So it really makes it an advantage for you to look at this. So a couple of things I just want to make a quick highlight before we get into the demo. Right now, great time to upgrade with programmers. Remember, if you have 2010 and you're thinking about upgrading to XE, it's a great time to do it because right now you'll save $100 off the normal upgrade price before the end of the year. We have the amnesty program going on, so if you have Delphi 2006, you can now upgrade at the upgrade price until the end of the year. After that, it's most likely going to go up to where you'll have to buy the full product if you're on the older version. We also have the BOGO going on, as we talked about, the buy one, get one free. And then finally, we also have the inside of XE now, inside the XE product, you also get access to all the prior editions of, most of the prior editions of the product. So if you buy Delphi XE, you'll get access to Delphi 2010, 2009, 2007, and Delphi 7. So you'll have access to download copies of those and use those other versions if you don't have them. So if you need to support something on 2006 or 2007, you don't have 2007, you can download 2007 and you'll have a copy of it. So when you buy XE, you get access to prior versions of the products. So if you buy RAD Studio XE, you get the access to the older versions of RAD Studio. If you buy the XE for Delphi or C++ Builder, you get the older versions of Delphi and C++ Builder. And also keep in mind, if you're in Professional, we've added additional tools and capability for Professional, things like AQ time to manage and look at your performance issues inside of there with a whole bunch of different profilers, and I'll show a little bit of that here in a second. And then you also have things like the advanced builder products and things like that to help you get your job done better. So it's a perfect time right now to move forward. So before we go into that, I want to go over and look and see if there's any Any questions at this particular moment in time? It looks like all of the questions at that time were about the choppy audio. Hopefully everybody's hearing me fine. If you do have questions on anything, please go ahead and put it into the QA section, and I will answer any of the questions that you may have during that period of time. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to switch and change and share my desktop right now, which is going to show everything because I'm going to be showing quite a few different products as we go through this. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring up Rad Studio. If you've not seen Rad Studio XE, this is the latest and greatest Rad Studio XE. It looks very much like 2010. So if you're familiar with what 2010 did, the functionality, capabilities, features are going to be very similar. You're going to feel very much at home inside of the product. Now, a couple of things that we want to kind of make a highlight of, again, a lot of people go, hey, Mike, what is DB Express? Well, DB Express is basically a component layer to connect to your database, but it makes talking to different databases very, very easy. And we have something inside of Rad Studio called Data Explorer. Now, this works the same for Delphi as it does for C++ Builder. So if you have the individual products, it works the exact same way. But if I would come into my Data Explorer right here, as you can see, I have various databases, Blackfish, DataSnap, I have Sybase, DB2, Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL, you name it, of course Firebird and Interbase. But the idea is that if I create an application and I would like to, switch, let's say, from Firebird to Interbase, well, I have the ability. I have right now got Firebird running, and so if I come out here and I would open up my connection to this, I don't have Firebird running, so give me a second here. So if I come into here and I would say all programs, come in and go to Firebird and go into my process here, that will start running. Make sure it is running right now. It does look like it is running. And so if I would come in and refresh, and then come out here and look at this, you'll see that I have all of my access to my structure. This is using DB Express, so I'm going out there using the DB Express components to actually communicate to the databases. If I wanted to, I've also got Interbase running right now, and I could come into here and I could easily transform from one database to another database very quickly and easily using the DB Express components. And all I would have to do is change my connection type between the two products. I could go out there, I could connect to my Firebird, I could go out there and connect to my Interbase, and I could seamlessly go back and forth. If I had a DB2 application that had the exact same tables and columns, I could just switch from Interbase or Firebird to DB2 or MS SQL or MySQL and be able to go between those databases quickly, easily, and very, very fast. So that's one of those advantages that DB Express brings to the table. Now, another thing that we have inside of the product today that I think is actually, as I've talked a lot about, is the structure for our DataSnap technology. And again, if you've not been familiar with the DataSnap technology, just think about it this way. It's really the fastest way to make a remote server that I've seen in my career. So if you would come in, say File New, come in here to Other, and as you can see, I have a whole bunch of things loaded up in here like Jedi and other things, but I could come into my DataSnap server, and as you can see, we have a brand new gallery in here that gives you tells you what each thing that you're clicking on and gives you a little bit more descriptions about what's going on and things like that. But if I wanted to create a really quick DataSnap server, I could come in here very easily, say yes, I want to create a DataSnap server. It's going to go out there and kick off the process. We have a brand new wizard interface that actually helps you step through the process to make it easier. I'm going to create a standalone VCL application. On this box, I'm going to use 8083 as my port. I'll test that port to make sure it's good. And then we'll go ahead and hit next. And then I'm going to use the server methods and the sample methods inside of here because it's just going to make it quick and easy for me. It will say next. And then I'm going to go ahead and I want to do it from a TDS server module because I wanted to implement the IAP server interface. I'm going to say next. It's going to create a project for me, and I'm going to say finished. Now, what this has basically done is went out there and created a complete standalone application for me with access through JavaScript with a regular interface to this. So a couple of things that I can do about this. Now remember, DataSnap is built on DB Express. That means that the Data Explorer, I can use that Data Explorer that we were using for looking at Interbase and Firebird and other databases out there. I can use that same infrastructure to talk to my DataSnap servers. So if I look at this, you notice I have my server form right here, and this is just a normal form. So if I would come in here and call this my server, and then as you can see, the server has been updated. I can also come out and look at my server methods. Now, my server methods are basically the container where I put my business logic. So if I wanted to expose something out to somebody, I would put it in this section right here. So if I come out to my code, you'll notice that I have two functions already defined. I have something called echo string, and I also have something in here called reverse string. But I might want to add another I might want to add another function inside of here that you might want to use. So I might say function, and then I might say is rad studio cool. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to return a string on this form, and then I'm going to do a Control-Shift-C to do the code completion and the class completion. So it'll automatically set up my thing, and then I can just say result colon equals, and then rad studio xe rocks, and then just put close out my structure. Now that's all I had to do. Don't have to do anything else. I just exposed that line of code to anybody who's going to access this structure for me. So right now what I can do is I can actually come in here and run this application. It's going to go out, it's going to set up everything, it'll compile it, and here we'll see that I have my start application. When I start that application, I'm going to get the little thing from Microsoft saying, hey, there's a firewall alert, and I can say allow the access, and we're going to allow the access to this. Now, I'm communicating across TCP/IP, a REST server, and I want to go into my DataSnap server here, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to say, let's go ahead and do a DataSnap, and I'm going to modify my connection. So I have a local host. I'm connecting to it through HTTP 8083, and I'm going to test that connection to make sure that it works. Sure does. So I'm going to say OK, and then if I open this up, you'll notice that I have a set of procedures down here, and if I look, all of these procedures have been exposed out for me to interact with. Let me open this up a little bit further, and we'll see that I have a couple of objects down here called server methods, and there's my echo string, there's my reverse string, and here is my isRadStudioCool function that I just wrote for you guys. And if I open this up, you can see there's a return value to it. So I'm going to double click on this, and because it's basically a stored procedure, or it acts like a stored procedure, I can come in here, and this is just going to return the value that I've already established. I can just come in here and run this, and you'll see that the return value is rad studio xe rocks. So very easily, very quickly, I can go out there and establish a DataSnap server if I've got the enterprise edition of the product, and I can have that running very, very quickly. Now, beyond that, I can come out to my server and notice there's this open browser. And remember, I said that we've already exposed this out through JavaScript. So I can come into here and open browser. And when I open up the browser, it's going to bring up the page and start it off. Now notice it says, here's my DataSnap REST project. We have that reverse string. That was one of those methods that we had in the application. Let me come in here, and we're going to put in here something simple like Roslog, my last name. And I'm going to go ahead and put in Roslog, and when I hit the reverse string, it should come back as Golzar. So that went out there and it talked to the server and returned that string automatically. Now remember, I just did that for the reverse string, but I might want to look at the other server functions. So I can literally come into my server functions and say, there's my echo string, there's that reverse string, and there's my isRadStudioCool. So it's automatically been exposed for me. I didn't have to do anything. It's automatically been exposed. And now if I come out here and say isRadStudioCool and I hit execute, you'll notice that the result comes back down here at the bottom, isRadStudioXE rocks. So again, the DataSnap technology and the ability to create those applications as quickly as we do is just pretty great. Now, the cool part about this is that when you go to enterprise, then you got a lot of additional tools that you may not have had in the prior in prior editions. And so let me go ahead and close this out for a second. We won't save it. But what I want to do is I want to bring up my, as this is coming back, I want to bring up my D client, which is a client that I wrote for another application that I sometimes use for various purposes to show things. And this is actually showing Windows, Azure, and SQL. But what I want to show with this is actually some of the the modeling support that we have inside of it. A lot of people ask, what can you do with this? If I do double click on this, you'll see that we have a client structure. I can literally come in and take a look at all of the things going on inside of my client. I can see my main, and then I can come into my buttons, and if I wanted to, I can generate documentation, or I could also come in here and open this up, and notice how when I come into it, I can see all the things that are going on. If I would come into my button one click, I could right mouse click and say generate a sequence diagram. I could come into the other one and generate a sequence diagram, so I can do everything from that standpoint. Or I can literally come up here, which I've already done, and I can double click on this, and what this will do is this will bring up the sequence diagram that I've already generated for this. So you can see it comes out here, you see my object, it's going to initialize the form, there's my server methods, it's going to be calling out, it's going to go out and make a connection to the cloud, and then it's going to return information back to the label as a status. So I can actually understand exactly what's going on inside of my application step by step, and so it gives me a lot more insight, and this is one of the features and capabilities that's available in the enterprise. Now keep in mind, if you have professional edition of the products, Delphi and C++ Builder, you get the ability to reverse engineer and forward engineer your application. So in other words, if I make a change to my code, it's going to change the model. If I make a change to the model, it's going to make a change to the code. So you still get that with the product. Don't forget about that. Now also inside of here, if I go back to my diagram, I can right mouse click in here, and I can also run audits and metrics. As I told you before, audits for me are something that should be run by everybody every single night because I think they're that important. And you can find things like duplicate code, you can find like design flaws, you can find things like code that's unreachable, you can find all kinds of great things inside of your code and get those things fixed so they don't bite you later on. And though you get some audits and some metrics with the professional, but when you go to the enterprise, you get all of them. So we have over 200 plus audits inside of there. We have 80 plus metrics inside of there from that standpoint. So you can run those very quickly and easily. And of course, we also have, as I was talking about before, let me just minimize this for a second. If I bring up Final Builder, as I was talking about, when you go to Enterprise, you get access to Final Builder, which allows you to build a repeatable build process. And it's very quick, very easy for you to build these buildable executables and these build processes, because literally you come in, I've already loaded one up called new project 4, but as you can see, I go out, I get the database, I run a batch command, I run another batch command, I then compiled my project very quickly and easily, I do another command file, and then I get my disk space afterwards, and as you can see, it all equals out to correct down here, and I can drill in. But if I want to define something, all I have to do is come out here and say edit properties, and as you can see, it tells me what this is going to do, what my runtime properties are, what my project is, what my compiler settings are, so everything that I want to do. And if I want to add something new, let's say I wanted to add another, I wanted to add this to Subversion. I could literally come into here, open up my Subversion, and here's all of my things that I could add this in, or I could delete this, I could check up, I could commit, I could do all of those things just by adding that to this list of things to do. And once this is working, I can just run this and run this and run this. And then Final Builder, the company that makes Final Builder, actually has a server that if you want to do continuous integration, you can literally take your builds that you build in here and drop it into there, and it will do continuous integration for you, which makes life a lot easier. So keep in mind, when you're looking at upgrading to the latest and greatest XE, not only do you get access to the old versions, you get a lot of great new tools and great new functionality that you may not have been familiar with in the past that we've added inside of this version of the product. So there's a lot of great things. One of the things that we talk a lot about is we talk a little bit about the thread demo. And let me just bring this up now. For those people who've been around for a while and have seen the thread demo, I'm not going to show you anything exciting or new, but what I might be able to show you is something a little bit different with AQ Time. Now, AQ Time is a profiler, and they get the SmartBearer automated QA guys gave us a plethora of great profilers to go out there and profile our applications with. So we can come out here to our performance profile, and if we come in here, notice we have it on performance, but we also have things like unused VCL units, sequence diagram, all the kind of things that you'd want. And then when you say run it with profiler, what's great about this is you don't have to add anything into your code. Everything's ready to go. It says, hey, do you want to run this? And we say yes. It's going to come back and say, hey, there's a couple of things that are uninstrumented for test. Is that okay? And we're going to say, yes, it's okay. And then what it's going to do, it's going to come out here and we're going to say start sorting. And as you can see, it ended the sort. We'll stop it. And then when it comes back, we can see exactly how much time each one of them took. So if we look at this, we can come into here to the bubble sort. And if we look at bubble sort, it took 0.4 seconds, 0.44 seconds, and with its children, it took the children took 0.37 seconds of that. If we come in and look at the quick sort, you'll notice that it only took 0.06, and it had 0 children with it, and it only ran once. So you can automatically see just visually right now that the quick sort was much faster than the bubble sort in this process. So again, making it very quick, very easy for you to understand exactly what's going on inside of your application from that standpoint. Now, I know we only have a couple of minutes left, but I do want to hit a couple of things very, very quickly. If you do purchase Enterprise and you get a BOGO, you're going to have access to a couple of applications. One of them out there is going to be Rapid SQL. What Rapid SQL helps you do is write really good SQL, optimize SQL. If you have problems writing SQL or you need some help with it, go out there, and Rapid SQL is going to do that for you. So I'm going to go out here and connect to my Interbase database out here. It's going to come out here, and I just typed in master key. It's going to pop up, and here's all of my tables. If I open this up, there's my customer. If I right mouse click on this, I could come in here and say, you know what, let's go ahead and just do a select asterisk from everything, and it would automatically go out there and build that SQL statement for me. I could also come in here and say, you know what, let's go ahead and build a query, and it'll give me a query builder that I can build it visually. And then it says, you know what, I need to import some data from a text file into this database. Boom, right here. Very quickly, very easily set it up and do that. Oh, I need to go out here and do some indexes, or I need to do some triggers. Be able to go out there very quickly, very easily, be able to do that. Another application that you might have access to if you upgrade to BOGO is ER Studio. Now, ER Studio basically allows me to reverse engineer and forward engineer database applications and get a data diagram from it and be able to work with that data model, both in the physical and logical sense, and make changes to my database structure and update it and migrate data and do things like that. So as you can see right here, I have AdventureWorks, and I'm looking at the human resources one. If you've seen Microsoft's AdventureWorks, it comes with MS SQL. You know what I'm talking about. This is the actual data diagram for the human resources. If I come into person, you can see how the person is set up and all the relationships between it. I can look at it from both the physical and logical. I can come in and look, and I can do the alters for the statements, and it'll update my SQL for me. I can do compare and contrast between that. I can also, one of the really cool features that I believe is in ER Studio for people is the fact that I might need to understand from a very high level, how much is this thing going to grow? So I can literally come out and do capacity planning inside of this. So if you don't know how much your database is going to grow, you can come in, do some capacity planning, and generate some reports to say, hey, you know what, if we had 10 people a day, every day, how big is our database going to grow over the next 6 months, which is a really cool advantage. So ER Studio allows me to reverse engineer existing databases, allows me to generate new databases and create the data modules and then generate them. And then finally, I can do some advanced tools in there. Finally, the other one that I want to talk about is the DB Optimizer, which will literally go out there and find production issues. I've got one here. Let me just open this up really, really quickly. And I've got this Sybase database. This is not an actual live one. This is actually taking an example of what would happen. So what I've done is I've got this Sybase database image, which is also really cool that you can save off these images and share them with the DB people later on, and they can do the analysis. But as you can see, any place that it kind of goes up, the activity goes up, and I see red areas, I can come out there and I can see what's going on. Here's some select statements. Here's my sessions, procedures, and how much time is being used. But I can also come in here and kind of select between them, and it'll start highlighting which features are in there. So if I come in here and let's say I bring this down just a little bit, I can move this around. I can come into my procedures and see what sessions are going on, what events are being kicked off, what SQL is being passed through the data structure. I can see all kinds of great information and understand what's going on. So if I'm having a slowdown in my database, I can isolate that slowdown and figure out exactly what's causing that slowdown. And this is another great product that you have access to when you go to BOGO and you have an enterprise level application. You can get your hands on that one. So with that, that's going to end my presentation and also my demo. And right now I'm going to pass this back over to Sarah and Kevin, and we'll go through the questions and answers if we have any, and we will go from there.
Okay, Mike, we actually do have one question as of right now. If anybody else has any, feel free to send them in through the question and answer. This one is, what's the difference of RAD Studio Architect 2010 with the XE edition?
Okay, so what? And please, if I'm not answering the question correctly, please retype it in. But let me answer what I think you're asking. The big difference between the 2010 edition and the XE edition for Architect is basically in Architect you're going to get the ER Studio as part of the product, so it's going to be an additional part. Plus, with the XE edition, those are the same. So the Architect brings in the ER Studio, but the big difference between the 2010 and the XE edition is that you're going to get access to all the prior editions of the RAD Studio Architect edition. You're also going to get more UML features. You're also going to get more features from the final builder and things like that. So you're getting a couple of more features, you're getting a couple of more components, you're getting a couple of more additional features. But the big thing is you're getting access to the older versions of the Studio, and you're also getting ER Studio in the Architect edition, which I was showing you. Hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, we have another one. Do any products have the ability to do delta comparison between two databases?
Absolutely. It's called Change Manager, and basically what you can do is you can go in there and you can find the differences between the databases using that product. Absolutely. And that, by the way, Change Manager is a product that's available for you if you upgrade now to Enterprise and go to your BOGO to buy one, get one from programmers, you can get Change Manager as part of that process.
Okay, we've got another one. I have Delphi 2009 Studio. I do not see the ability to create a new DataSnap server. Did that come after 2009?
Great question. It is in 2009, but we didn't have all of the wizards that we do now inside of XE. So in 2009, what you'd have to do to create a DataSnap server in Delphi was say File, New, Application, and then when you went into Application, you should have a DataSnap structure in the File, New, Data, Other. You'll see a DataSnap inside of there, and then you could drop you'd see your components on the right-hand side in your tool chart, and then you could drop a server, you could drop a connection, and then you could drop a server methods component set, and that would actually do it. If you go out to the Embarcadero EDN website and look up 2009 DataSnap, there would be a hour-long demo that I did or someone else did inside of the organization. It would show you how to do it step by step. So it is out there. It just didn't have all the great wizards that we have in XE now.
All right, and right now we've got one more. Like I said before, if anybody's got any more, keep sending them in. But the last one right now is, what's the next version of JBuilder? When's the release?
Next version of JBuilder, another excellent question. The next version of JBuilder, we are looking at hopefully sometime in 2011 to be revisiting the JBuilder product and bringing out another release of it. At this time, I don't have any specifics on what it's going to have in it or what approach it's going to be using or anything like that, but we are looking at sometime in the 2011, early 2012 timeframe for the next release of JBuilder.
All right, well, it looks like that's all the questions that we have for today. Mike, I want to thank you for hosting this today, and I want to thank you, everybody, for attending. If you have any additional questions, you can contact us at info@programmers.com or at 800-221-7710. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.